Everyone recognizes Atlas as the mighty titan carrying the earth on his shoulders. But that famous image is not what the ancient Greeks described. Atlas was not condemned to support the planet. After fighting against Zeus in the War of the Titans, he received a far more terrifying punishment: to stand at the edge of the world and hold the heavens above it forever. So how did the sky become the earth? And what was Atlas truly forced to carry? Who was Atlas? Atlas belonged to the generation of Titans who ruled before Zeus and the Olympian gods. He was the son of Iapetus and the brother of Prometheus, Epimetheus, and Menoetius. Each brother became associated with a different fate in the new divine order that followed the rise of Olympus. Prometheus became famous for helping humanity and stealing fire. Epimetheus was remembered for accepting Pandora. Menoetius was struck down for his violent pride. Atlas became the symbol of endurance. But before his punishment, he was not simply a giant standing beneath a heavy burden. He was a powerful titan connected with the older generation of divine beings who existed before Zeus took control of the cosmos. Ancient traditions also associated Atlas with the far western edge of the known world, beyond the lands familiar to the Greeks. This distant setting later became important because his punishment placed him at the boundary between earth and heaven. His name itself became connected with the idea of carrying, enduring, and supporting an impossible weight. Yet Atlas did not begin as a servant of Zeus. When the Olympians rose against the Titans, he chose the side of the old order. That decision would determine his fate. Unlike many defeated Titans, Atlas would not simply be imprisoned and forgotten beneath the earth. Zeus prepared a punishment that would keep him standing forever: the War Against Zeus. The conflict that sealed Atlas' fate was the Titanomachy, the great war between the Titans and the younger Olympian gods. For 10 years, the two generations fought for control of the cosmos. Cronus and the Titans represented the older divine order. Zeus and his siblings, Poseidon, Hades, Hera, Demeter, and Hestia, fought to overthrow the rulers who had dominated the world before them. Atlas stood with the Titans. Ancient tradition presents him as one of their most powerful champions, a figure whose immense strength made him a formidable enemy of the Olympians. But strength alone could not decide the war. Zeus freed the Cyclopes and the hundred-handed ones from imprisonment. In return, the Cyclopes gave the Olympians powerful weapons. Zeus received the thunderbolt, Poseidon the trident, and Hades the helmet of invisibility. The hundred-handed ones then unleashed a storm of enormous stones against the Titans. The old gods were defeated. Many were cast into Tartarus, the dark prison beneath the world, where the hundred-handed ones stood guard over them. Atlas received a different sentence. Zeus did not imprison him beside the others. Instead, he condemned Atlas to stand at the far western boundary of the world and support the heavens above the earth. The punishment matched the Titan's greatest quality. Atlas had possessed extraordinary strength, so Zeus transformed that strength into an instrument of endless suffering. He would remain conscious, standing, and burdened for all time. He could see the world continue around him, yet he could never step away from the weight placed upon his shoulders. His power had made him dangerous during the war. After the war, that same power made his punishment possible. What Atlas actually carried? Atlas was not condemned to carry the earth. His burden was the heavens, the immense sky that stretched above the world. In ancient Greek thought, the earth and the heavens were not imagined in the same way we understand a planet floating in space today. The earth was the realm beneath humanity, while the sky formed a vast divine boundary above it. Atlas stood between these two regions. Ancient sources describe him supporting the heavens with his head and tireless hands. In later art, this burden was often shown as a great sphere resting upon his shoulders. But that sphere was not originally the planet Earth. It represented the celestial sphere, the dome of the heavens containing the stars, constellations, and movements of the night sky. This distinction completely changes the meaning of Atlas' punishment. He was not preventing the earth from falling. He was holding the sky above it. His position was often placed at the far western edge of the world, near the realm of the Hesperides, where the sun appeared to descend each evening. There, Atlas became a living pillar, separating heaven from earth. The punishment was both physical and cosmic. The burden was not merely heavy. It was endless. Atlas could never lower the heavens, rest his arms, or abandon his position. His strength had become necessary to preserve the order established after the Titanomachy. Every sunrise, every sunset, and every star moving across the night sky continued above him while he remained trapped beneath their weight. This is why the image of Atlas was so powerful to the ancient world. He represented more than physical strength. He represented endurance under a responsibility that could never be completed. The task had no final victory. There was no moment when Atlas could place the heavens down and declare that his punishment was over. He was condemned not simply to carry something enormous, but to sustain the structure of the cosmos forever. Why everyone thinks Atlas held the earth? If the ancient myths say Atlas carried the heavens, why do so many people picture him holding the earth? The confusion began with the way artists represented the sky. It was difficult to show an invisible heavenly dome in sculpture, so artists often placed a large sphere on Atlas' shoulders. This was a celestial sphere, a model of the heavens marked with stars, constellations, and the signs of the zodiac. Museum descriptions of Atlas imagery still identify his burden as the celestial sphere, not the planet Earth. To an ancient observer, the meaning would have been clear. The figures covering the globe represented the night sky. Atlas was carrying the entire celestial realm above the world. But as astronomy, geography, and art changed, the distinction became easier to miss. Globes became increasingly associated with the planet itself. At the same time, Atlas became connected with collections of maps. In the 16th century, Gerardus Mercator used the word atlas for a book of maps, helping establish the term that is still used today. This connection strengthened the misunderstanding. Atlas appeared on map books. Map books described the Earth. The sphere on his shoulders was therefore gradually interpreted as a terrestrial globe, even when the original artistic tradition had represented the heavens. Later paintings, statues, company logos, films, and popular illustrations simplified the image further. The constellations disappeared. The sphere became blue oceans and green continents. Eventually, the Titan who held up the sky became the giant who carried the world. The modern image is powerful, but it changes the punishment. Atlas was not supporting the planet as it traveled through space. He was standing upon the Earth while holding the heavens away from it. What appears to be a small visual difference actually reveals how thousands of years of art and popular culture transformed one of Greek mythology's most famous stories. Heracles takes the burden. Atlas' punishment seemed impossible to escape, but for a brief moment, another hero carried the heavens in his place. During one of his 12 labors, Heracles was ordered to obtain the golden apples of the Hesperides. These sacred fruits grew in a distant garden near the western edge of the world, the same region where Atlas was believed to stand beneath the sky. Heracles could not simply enter the garden and take them. So he approached Atlas with a plan. Because Atlas was connected with the Hesperides, he could retrieve the apples more easily. Heracles offered to support the heavens while Atlas went to collect them. For the first time since his punishment began, Atlas was free. He placed the crushing weight of the sky onto Heracles' shoulders and left for the garden. When Atlas returned with the golden apples, he had no desire to resume his eternal burden. He suggested that he would deliver the apples himself, while Heracles continued holding the heavens. Heracles understood the trap. Instead of arguing, he agreed, but asked Atlas to take the sky back for only a moment so he could adjust his position and place padding beneath the weight. Atlas accepted. The moment he lifted the heavens again, Heracles took the apples and walked away. Atlas had been deceived back into his punishment. This episode reveals how terrible the burden truly was. Even a titan of enormous strength tried to abandon it the moment an opportunity appeared. And although Heracles was powerful enough to hold the sky temporarily, he did not attempt to keep it. Atlas' strength allowed him to survive the punishment. But survival did not make the burden bearable. The Titan's curse. Atlas' punishment became more than a sentence imposed by Zeus. It became a symbol of unbearable responsibility. The heavens could be transferred from one bearer to another, but only when someone else accepted the weight. This made the punishment especially dangerous. Atlas was not chained to a prison wall. His prison was the burden itself. Anyone strong enough and willing enough could briefly take his place. This idea later became central to Percy Jackson and the Olympians, the Titan's curse. In the story, Atlas escapes his punishment by forcing Artemis to hold the sky. Percy then accepts the burden himself to free her, experiencing the crushing weight that had tormented Atlas for centuries. The scene transforms physical strength into a test of sacrifice. Percy does not hold the heavens because he wants power or glory. He does it because someone else is suffering, and he is willing to endure the pain long enough to save her. Eventually, Atlas is forced beneath the sky once again. The modern adaptation changes parts of the original mythology, but it preserves the most important meaning of the punishment. The curse is not simply about carrying something heavy. It is about being trapped beneath a responsibility that cannot be completed and the temptation to escape by placing that burden upon someone else. Atlas possessed enough strength to carry the heavens forever, but his greatest desire was always the same: to make someone else carry them instead. Conclusion: Atlas never carried the earth. His true punishment was far greater: to stand at the edge of the world and hold the heavens above it for eternity. The spheres shown in ancient art represented the celestial sky, filled with stars and constellations. Over time, that image was transformed into the globe of the earth, creating one of mythology's most famous misunderstandings. But the original story reveals something more powerful. Atlas was not remembered only for his strength. He became a symbol of endless responsibility, suffering, and the desperate desire to escape an impossible burden. Even Heracles carried the heavens only briefly before returning them to the Titan. So which punishment was worse? Being imprisoned in Tartarus, or remaining conscious beneath the weight of the sky forever? Share your opinion in the comments. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful day.